All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Actually, I'm going to wait a second for Melissa to come back. All set? Okay. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Deputy First Selectman.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all. Four of us are here this evening. Selectman Muska is out of town, so she will not be joining us. So we'll move now to the approval of the meeting minutes from May 1st, 2025. Are there corrections?
Make a motion next to 2025 is presented.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted. We'll turn now to public participation. This is one of two opportunities for members of the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody who's here present in the room who would like to do so, and then give it anybody who may be with us online a chance after that. Is there anybody here who would like to address the members of the Board of Selectmen? Name and address, please, young man.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street, Broadbrook. I certainly hope every eligible person in town will vote on Tuesday. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Is there other public comment? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Broadbrook. I second that motion.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is there other public comment? Is there other public comment? Asking online, is there anybody online who would like to address the members of the board? If so, please unmute yourselves, state your name and your business.
Jason, Snorian Farmer, 247 South Water Street. I'm going to try to keep this to your 3 minutes. I might go a bit over. I actually wanted to talk to all of you and anybody who watches this and listens to it about there's been a lot of information out on Facebook about legal issues. Part of those legal issues are directly related to something I participated in, and I want to just make it clear. I serve on the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on the behalf of the board. In 2024, we had received, because of the revaluation, over 150 appeals for tax purposes. We chose, of those, there were 32 that were over, commercial properties over $1 million. We chose not to hear those. We chose to have them go directly to court if they chose to. And there were a lot of reasons to do that. I can tell you my personal reason for it was that for me to sit in a meeting with Walmart for 15 minutes and make a determination on if I should decrease their taxes by $3 million, their assessment by $3 million, I'm not in a position to do that. I'm not at all capable of making that decision. And my choice in having them go there is that the decisions I would be making greatly affects our grand list, which greatly affects what people pay. In order for our residential people to pay less money, we need to build our commercial base. And my personal decision was to let them go to court if they wanted to. Of the 32 who appealed, 15 chose to file suit. So less than half. The other ones accepted what the appeal was and left and went on with life. So there were 15 of those, and then there were a total of, I believe it was 21 in total. So the others were 6 people who came to the Board of Assessment Appeals, were declined, and chose to go to court. And they have every right to do that. And we as a town have every right to go to court and fight our side and do what we want. So this thing that's being bantered around about 56 lawsuits, 21 of those were directly related to something I did. And I can tell you that not one single person from the Board of Selectmen had any conversation with me, directing me to do anything. My capacity on the Board of Assessment Appeals, I have a legal obligation to follow certain statutes and to do what needs to be done in that capacity. No one, including the assessor, talked to us about what we should do, how we should do it. We were given information to do our job, and we did so. And I can stand by exactly every decision I made. We are three individual people, me being one of them, who gave up hours and hours and hours of time in order to do our job. And for now, people to be throwing out somehow that people directed us to do something is just ridiculous. And I want everybody to understand there was not a single conversation to me as a Board of Assessment Appeals person about what to do. I took my responsibility seriously, and every decision I made was in the best interest of the town of East Windsor. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment? There will be another opportunity later in the meeting. So we'll turn now to communications. We do have a communication from the Broadbrook Fire Department. After the discussion last meeting about the asset disposal policy, and the board had asked me to communicate to them that we wanted them to memorialize in writing. They've done that. I think this satisfies everything that we asked of them to provide. But this did come in like very shortly after we had asked for it. So there it is. Okay. Oh, go ahead. Well, yes. So they are requesting that the funds go into their line. The money will go back into, according to the policy, go back into the CNR vehicles line, and we can decide to transfer it out of there into the into their apparatus if we decide to do so. Okay. We have two resignations, both from Sandra Downey. She had been a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission and a member of the Economic Development. I have a motion.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Sandra Downey from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Economic Development Commission.
Is there a second?
Second it, yes.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just, well, first I want to say I appreciate her hard work on these, and I had met her a few times, and I'm sure she's got other things that are going on that she can't do this, but and she was a great contributor to these boards. But I'm wondering on the EDC, is there going to be a quorum now if her up, or is we're going to lack a quorum?
There is. I don't know the answer to that. I know that there is somebody who is interested in applying who I don't believe has submitted an application yet. I'm not sure if that's the quorum maker or not, though.
Noreen, do you know offhand whether or not to be a quorum if when she resigns off of here an EDC?
You do not.
Okay.
All right. We also have. Oh, we have a
Vote on
yeah. Let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
it. Aye.
Opposed? Her resignations are accepted with regret. We do have a new appointment. I'm not sure if it's Macedo or Macedo, but Chelsea is interested in joining the Arts and Culture Committee. She's a teacher by training and has experience in the performing arts. She's got her application in with references and a narrative as to why she wants to participate. And I'd ask for a motion to appoint her to Culture Commission. The last name is the same. I'm not sure if that's her. I'd like to ask, but
Chelsea, are you online?
Hi. Yes, if it's working, sorry, I'm figuring it out.
Oh, no problem, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to know if you had anything you wanted to offer to us, and thank you for being online.
No, thanks for considering it. I'm looking forward to it and just hopefully, getting to be more involved in the community.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to appoint Chelsea as a member of the Arts and Culture Commission?
I'll make a motion to appoint Chelsea Keto, I'm sorry if that's wrong, to the Arts and Culture Committee, effective. What's the term?
Oh, it sunsets every 18 months. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded twice. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The appointment is confirmed. Chelsea, thank you for stepping forward.
Make a motion to appoint William Luce to the Broadbrook Fire Commission for a term expiring June of some year,
It's next year.
June of next year.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious as to know the answer to it as to why we just had an election. Two individuals were appointed uncontested, and there was another position that nobody ran for. Now we have an opening for another commissioner. Do we know why?
It's an alternate position, and neither the Democratic Party nor the Republican Party named a candidate for that alternate position. So the position is vacant and is appointed by the Board of Selectmen until the next election.
Okay, so this is for an alternate to the commission and not to the commission. So I would ask that motion be corrected if they have an alternate.
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
All in favor of the amended motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, Keith had asked for this next item, discussion of the Solar Development Advisory Commission.
So I amended the ordinance to address some of the concerns. With some copies here. I think there's enough in there.
Is this the copy that's in here?
It does as amended.
What did you amend? Is it red lines?
No, but I'll tell you, I'll take you through it. So, and if anyone wants a copy, I have some copies. Public wants a copy. So the concerns were, that, well, it consists of 9 members. If you don't get 9, that's okay, because it's still a quorum. As long as you have a quorum, the group can meet. You can have an absence. So I changed it to at least 1, but no more than 2 members of Board of Selectmen, and at least 1, but no more than 2 members of Planning and Zoning. And this came from a discussion with the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, because he said he would be happy to serve as an advisory role. He was concerned that his members might be too busy and he might not be able to get 2 people to serve on the commission. So, I think he believes it's important to have someone from Planning and Zoning there. So I said up to 2 members here. And then I said at least 1 member who's the farmer, at least 1 member who's a business owner, not restricting. And then I just said additional residents who reflect a broad range of perspectives and expertise. The first selectman, chair of Planning and Zoning, serve as advisory members. And then this was important, the next one, item 7. I had a lot of feedback because I put this out into public. And the feedback was that people wanted to vote for the members at the same town meeting that the commission gets approved. So they wanted to have a say in the membership of the commission. So that's why I wrote number 7. So the initial appointment shall be a vote at town meeting. So, and then certainly we can amend it to add the language in accordance with Town Charter, Section 7(1)(b). And then, oh no, that's different. Yeah, so I'm not proposing that the Board of Selectmen make the appointments, that it be made by the town meeting, because that's what I heard from the public, was what they wanted. And then the removal in accordance with the Town Charter and Section 3 is fine. And then the other edits are fine. And so that's it. So basically, I changed the membership to reflect that it can be up to a certain number of members, but So we're not constrained. I'm not sure why he crossed out one member of the local farmer. Oh, what if there's none that wishes to serve? We already have several people, the local farmers that want to serve. Mystica Flint was one. Rabita, he would like to serve. We have people that are farmers that are interested in serving on here. I've had a number of people approach me. I don't want to throw out names because it's going to sound like people already decided they want to be part of it, and that should be part of a vote. But there's a lot of interest in joining this. The purpose of this commission is not to compete with the town. It's not to compete with the solar group. It's to give an opportunity for a group to intervene in these solar petitions. The bill that was revised last year not only allows the town to intervene, but other people can be interveners. So this commission could serve as an intervener, and it wouldn't be providing like legal intervention. It would bring all the opinions of the residents to bear actually on the application. And they could testify and they could ask questions. They would be able to ask witnesses stuff. So this group would be able to bring to bear the community view directly to the siting council. Right now, it's a lot of legalese from the town. The town files an opposition, and it's a lot of legal stuff. And so this is the heart and soul of the town's people's opinion. So, and then also there's some talk about some other ordinances. I had a few ideas for ordinances. I just throw them out here, and I've had a bunch of people.
Let's stay on topic. We have one in front of us.
Okay, so the energy right now in the solar group is great. People are meeting. They met at the legislative office building today with Dr. Anwar. It's really powerful. We got like, I don't know, 1,200, 1,300 names on a petition. Very well organized group, but the goal of this commission is to formalize their work so that they can really have some momentum and have a real push in the process at city council level. And also that, make recommendations for things like other ordinances and that sort of thing. Not proposing that they can't make their own ordinances. They'd have to come to the Board of Selectmen and request the Board of Selectmen approve ordinances. Everything would go back to the Board of Selectmen. That's why I have it reporting into the Board of Selectmen here for their regular reporting. But people wanted to have they wanted to be able to be elected. The people that talked to me universally, really, they wanted to be able to be elected by the town meeting at the time that the ordinance is formed. But anyway, this is the revision to it. And I think it addresses the changes, although we can certainly add in the other references to the statutes or any other changes anyone wants to make.
Discussion.
Well, I'm not sure why you need 9, and the reason why I bring that up is being on numerous boards over the years, and I've seen even wetlands, which is one that always has business, almost always. We've cut the board down because of the inability to get enough people to staff it at that level. So,
right.
And also larger groups tend to be less efficient. So I'm not sure 9 is a good number. I think it's calling out, you have to have a local farmer. I think that the commentary in the markup that we got in our packet is, good that, what happens if somebody doesn't want to be on there. And really what's a local farmer is, Hempoil, are you a local farmer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So am I,
Right.
So, everybody, it's kind of in a right to farm town, pretty much anybody could claim to be a farmer. I don't think we really need to spell that out.
Okay.
I can't grow grass.
It's embarrassing to the farm.
So I think you maybe not be done, but let me address that. I think there's nothing wrong with culling out 3 and 4 and just cutting them out and just say the additional residents reflecting the range of perspectives from the community will cover it. I think in terms of the 9, the problem was this: if you go 11, it's too unwieldy. If you go 5 or 6, then people feel excluded, like they can't participate. We wanted to get enough space there that community members would be able to join and actively be engaged.
Sure. I prefer 5 myself, but I'm thinking because, a lot of people have interest currently.
Right.
7 would be a better number than 9.
Okay with that.
I'd also cut the membership in the Board of Selectmen.
To what?
I would not have it. If it's going to be advisory to us, we shouldn't be on it.
Okay. So we could do the same with, what do you think about planning and zoning? Do the same, just leave it advisory and then cut it?
Well,
I would think that if you're already having them be advisory, just again, from
Right.
being on pension, for instance, we have advisory. It's really difficult to get all the other boards to actually send somebody and have them show up every time. So,
like last time we had a police commissioner show up.
right, so to have one on the board, and then also, I think, just keep it as advisory.
So number 5 could read, just simply take out 1, 2, 3, and 4, and just say number 5, members shall be residents who reflect a broad range of perspectives and expertise. Call it that.
Sounds subjective.
Yeah, no,
They're
that's,
getting voted on by however the means is, so it's not like, right? And then, we have the balance of it, add in the language about this. Well, the question here is that, how do people feel about the, appointments through town meeting vote versus appointments through the Board of Selectmen?
I don't think that we need to do that. I think there's nothing special about this commission than any other commission. We've never done that for any other commission. And the following appointments will be made by the Board of Selectmen. So why make that special distinction for this initial appointment? I think we do it the way that we always do it.
Yep.
There's nothing, and that's that. I mean, this is pretty much the same type of a commission as we have for anything else. There's no need to, I don't think there's any need for that.
Anyone else on that issue?
I think we should follow the charter. The charter says that the responsibility is the board.
Well, the charter doesn't say, I'm not arguing about whether one way or another, but the charter doesn't require that a commission be appointed by the Board of Selectmen if it's an ordinance-based commission. Same as there's a fire department right now. There's an ordinance for the fire department. Those commissioners get appointed, as we know, through a vote. So there's nothing magical about the Board of Selectmen, but I'm not arguing that issue about the mechanism. I'm really talking about, are we gonna, I mean, Jason, you have an opinion about it? Board of Selectmen versus town meeting?
I think it should be a selectman appointment.
Okay. So I put back in the language about, he's got language here for number 6 that says the appointments and the appointments by Board of the Selectmen. So we add in 6 and take out the 6 from the revision and put it in there for the 7. Well, it's not gonna be 7 anymore. I gotta just renumber it.
Why did you, in section 3, why did you take out subsection B?
Which one was that?
Initial appointments shall be staggered so that approximately half the members are appointed for a 1-year term, ensuring continuity in subsequent years.
Yeah, so if we do that through the Board of Selectmen, we can put that should go back in. If it was gonna be in a town meeting, I thought it'd be burdensome to keep reconvening town meetings to do that. So that could go back in. That was only if it was done at a town meeting versus the Board of Selectmen. I have the political composition piece. That would apply to, even if it's just town residents, it still has to be has to meet the law in terms of political composition.
Why did you take the board's references out in terms of consultation under duties and responsibilities?
Where's that?
D.
No, I still have that. Oh, I didn't take that out. He added that in. He wants to make an addition to
So
the word.
you re-edited the draft you sent me after you sent it to me.
This is an
You
update.
didn't look at his.
I'm addressing, yeah, his address, correct, yeah. So the word board, he added the word board, boards, we can add that in there. That was a suggestion to add that word in.
This is not the original that you sent to us. This is what transpired after Keith's original, and then now he has another change to it.
Right, the one with the red line is Josh's red lines.
So I think with the revisions that we just made, we can address the attorney's concerns, put the appointments back to the Board of Selectmen. Have 7 members, all residents, and the process would be to revise this as we discussed it, put it out to back to the attorney for final review. And then tonight we would vote to send it to town meeting subject to town attorney review. And then I'll compile, or Jason, one of us could compile the edits tonight into the document to provide them.
You said that the law allows municipal boards to act as interveners.
So the way the law was written, it said that interveners, it opened up for additional interveners in appearing before the siting council. If the siting council feels that an intervener doesn't have to be an abutter. An intervener is somebody that has an interest or some entity that has an interest. Like the town can intervene, town can also be a party.
Yeah.
So if they say no, we don't want you here, that's up to them. They can always say no. But the commission should be able to file for intervener status as a commission of the town representing the specific, with the specific thing. And then we'll come up I say we, I may not even be on it, but hopefully the commission will come up with come up with what their plan is, and that would be, and what their goals are for the town, and they'll make recommendations. Oh, so the basic question is, yeah, I think they could be an intervener. We're testing it. Like this is something new. I don't think anyone in the state has created a commission that's going to want to get a town commission that's going to want to get involved in the siting council.
What is the statute?
For what? For the allow for
The one
that?
you're referencing?
That's 5501. It was public.
Last year?
Yeah, yep.
Would seem odd that they would give that kind of status to a commission when the law is specifically written to exclude planning and zoning,
No,
local
no.
control.
I didn't say that they gave it specifically to a commission. I said they opened up to additional interveners in the language.
That's a manufacturing bill.
That's not the right one. It's 55. You know which one I'm talking about. The one that Jamie Foster put through. The one
5056?
That's
No, that was not. That's a Prague bill.
You know which one I'm talking about? That's the one.
It's municipal services.
Yeah, I wasn't saying they said specifically that a commission could be an intervener. We're testing it. We would try, and then if they would, now if they deny the commission intervener status, it might be basis for an appeal. It might be one way to hold them up. If the commission says, no, we're not gonna let you intervene. I would think there'd be pressure on them to allow the commission to intervene, because the commission's gonna bring a different perspective. It's gonna bring a community perspective to bear at the siting council. And like I said, if they deny it, then there might be a basis for an appeal. That would be another reason why we might be able to hold them up. But this group out there, the group that's public, including us, all of us, we want to have a way to get the emotional part of it, the reality, the day-to-day living part of it to the siting council. We want to make an impression that it's impacting people's lives in a way in East Windsor, and what it means to live in East Windsor with these changes. And again, the attorney side of it, the town side of it is the legal aspect. And that really is about the legal analysis. And it doesn't convey because we've read them. We know what the town submits and what the town attorney submit. It doesn't convey the passion and the firm belief that the community has, the residents have about this. So if we can somehow use this commission to get to the siting council and make those claims, then it's an opportunity to do that. Otherwise, we send in letters and we send in petitions, and they may or not we know what happened in the motion to reopen. They may not have even read them because they didn't have to, and they weren't even posted. So the commission can force them to read stuff, and they can get testimony from the commission to the siting council to force them to listen to this stuff and to force them to take into consideration what the town wants. They can't ignore it. And you can also call witnesses, and you can ask people, you can even ask the developer, have you considered this impact, the community impact? So I don't see a downside to asking for intervener status. Jason, did you find the section I'm talking about?
On the bill you're talking about, but I don't find any section that speaks to what you're.
So if you do a search for the word intervener,
did a search for the word citing.
Oh.
Excuse me, I apologize. I have some bullshit going on. Um, sorry, but I'm gonna be the one that is gonna question whether or not this is necessary. We have a group that's out there that's non-political. They're independents. This fellow, in my opinion, has done a great job, and whether or not she's looking to be on a board of commission or not, that's here and out there. But I think those people that are truly interested have stayed interested and have been involved since day one. They want the intervener status. They certainly, as independent individuals, can do that. I keep listening over to why Kickball stopped having meetings, because it became argumentative, it became political. I have concerns with that. I have concerns that Keith has commented a couple of times tonight that we can always use as an example and take them to court. And people that are concerned about our tax dollars and where we're spending them, we then become liable for those court cases, correct? And if we're going to be reliable for court cases, because this is the town entity, for me, I don't want to do that. Do I think the people have a right to go out there and do that? Yes. Do I think they're a little late in the game? From day one, I thought that, and that's unfortunate. They didn't listen to us. They didn't listen to Jason. They didn't listen to others. The push was put out there, and I commend all those people that participated and continue to participate, and they still didn't listen. Are they going to listen because we do an ordinance? And what's going to happen 6 months down the road when those people that are on that board of commission are going to be beat to death and pounded to death because nobody's listening to them? I'm concerned about the mental health issues that might surface out of that as a town committee. And I'm concerned about having it permanent, as we all know that at some point, solar people are going to up and move out of town, and they're going to go to the next victim, and it's going to be their fight. So I have mixed feelings about it, but based upon what's here, I haven't read this in its entirety because I just got it. Kind of follow the changes that were made, but I have mixed feelings on it. I think 9 is way too many, so I'm glad that was brought up. I would have said 6, not 7, but that's me. I don't think the Board of Selectmen should have a role on it, so I'm glad that was brought up because of what commentaries are out there all the time. So I don't think any member of the board should be on there. And our volunteers that we're asking to be on, if they sit on other boards and commissions, I'm not sure that's fair because I see there's a lot of work to be done up there and this group is going to be envisioned with all that work. And I think everybody else in the world is probably ahead of us with the siting council because they're going to do whatever they want to do. That's just proven already. You want to fight it, I'll stand behind it, but I personally think it's going to be just another failed opportunity for the town.
Jason, the bill is 50, you found it already, 5507.
Oh, no, I was in the wrong one. I was in 5232.
That's 5507. And 5507 is called the Act Concerning Certain Proceedings Related to Electronic Transmission Lines and Membership and Processes of the Connecticut Siting Council. And that says that interveners can move to require, interveners can move to introduce independent expert testimony, gets paid for out of the municipal participation fund. So Marie, there's a fund, they're calling it the municipal participation fund, and they can seek reimbursement of legal fees if they prevail. It gives towns and interveners a realistic budget for engineers, appraisers, and lawyers instead of fighting utilities, it says on a shoestring. And also, it's just reading a review of it. It forces the council to weigh both statewide system benefits and localized economic burdens on hosts, which is an opening for interveners to press cost analysis, to press cost shift arguments. So 5507, it says resets the playing field. It says for decades, utilities walked into New Britain with $1 million modeling teams while towns begged for standing. And so now, based upon this, which came after Fairfield's issue over United Illuminating, towns can have a say, interveners in particular can have a robust impact on the siting council process. And also some of that money can be paid for by the municipal fund. Now, the question is going to be if they're going to say, and this is not, I understand, Alan, what you said about planning and zoning, that has a particular purview, right? That's a particular thing. This commission would have a different objective, which is tied in specifically to, in part, to allow the siting council to understand the town's concerns about solar. If they say no, I mean, this would be the first town in Connecticut, probably, maybe the first town in many states, to where a local group, which is organized through its selectmen or its town council, has formed a commission that's going to push its way into the siting council process and have an impact on it. And we should try it. I think there's no harm in trying it. And it doesn't cost us anything to form the commission. And they may come up with good ideas, they may not, but
That was actually going to be my next question. Most of the commissions look for some sort of budget. And I'm wondering if this one is also going to start looking for a budget, and I guess that's up to the Board of Selectmen at any point in time to put it in a budget or not. But the other thing I'm wondering is it's not clear to me how we would preclude this commission and anything that the Board of Selectmen might be doing from working in cross purposes. For instance, we already are paying a lawyer to do stuff in our name with a certain strategy. And if this group were to, take a different strategy that, doesn't help us, we might be spending money for no reason, right? Because this group could potentially take a legal tack that screws up the whole thing or doesn't work with our strategy. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, where, this shall have authority to request information and data from town appointments. Okay, that's fine. Participate in setting amount. Okay, fine. But it's really kind of vague as to, what they're expecting from as far as money. And then if they're going to start now, if it's a town commission who's now going to decide to, on their own, take a lawyer's advice, that is now being done in the name of the town. And if that advice proves really bad, then the town is on the hook for it. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'd want to hear about from a lawyer what the possibility of that is, because, we don't want to make things worse than they already are.
yeah, so I get it completely. I don't think this ordinance doesn't say anything about funding from the town. If the town feels down the road that it wants to pay for a minute taker for the meetings or not, or provide any funds, that's up to the Board of Selectmen. This ordinance doesn't
Well, if
say.
it's a commission, it has to have meetings, right? Minutes, right?
Yeah,
It has to be public, and then, of course, they all want to get paid for it. And
No, they'll have to take their own. At this point, they would take their own minutes. And if the value isn't there, then the Board of Selectmen would say, we're not seeing value from this. We're not going to put any money towards anything there. If the board doesn't, I mean, I would not expect that a commission would be running counter to the town. The good news is that the commission would be talking to the other boards and everyone in town and be running. We expect them to run with the town and to synergize. It's like any commission.
expectations are great, but
Okay.
my expectations over the last few years have not been met.
Okay, but it's like, we appoint commissions all the time, and if they did that, then the Board of Selectmen would have to take action and say, listen, this commission is running counter to the objectives of the community, and we need to do something about it. I think you take action. This purpose right here is.
That
I'm sorry.
right there is where I'm scared. That they have a right to what the community wants. This community is divided whether you want to agree with it or not on what should happen in town, what shouldn't happen in town. And then as soon as we say something to somebody that it's counterproductive to what we as a board, and I'm saying we as whoever's sitting up here, come November, are going to be held accountable. And again, it's going to turn into a political shit show like it already has become. And quite frankly, it hasn't done this to me any justice, that I'm feeling it's just gonna continue and people are gonna start picking sides again. So I'd rather just see the community get together and those that want to participate without anything can become interventors, sit down, have their meetings as adults and do what needs to be done in the best interest in conjunction what may or may not happen up here.
Well,
But I'm
let me-
concerned about the legal ramifications.
Let me just tell you about interveners. So an abutter could be can file for intervener status. They don't necessarily get automatically intervener status, but let's say they're appointed intervener status. That homeowner now has the burden of interacting on their own with the siting council. They have to decide what they're gonna do, and
Exactly my point.
that's a lot of,
An attorney that's gonna do that for us. So if those people,
What
like
do you
they just did, came to us and asked us for assistance, everybody was there for them.
no, the
And we'll
abutters,
continue to be there for them, whether you sit on this board or not.
no.
So that's where I have the problem.
I'm just saying that a abutter who happens to be a resident in town, it's a big lift to say to that abutter, you fight the siting council. I think the goal here is to synergize the community support. I can just tell you that the folks that are part of that group, the folks that are part of that, the folks that have been doing the petitions, the folks that are part of that group would like to be part of this group. They'd like to be part of it. They've offered up, they'd like to be part of
But
it.
those same people that are bad mouthing us behind the scenes. So
Crystal's not doing that. Mystica Flint's not doing that.
I guess.
Joe Rabbit is not doing
I
that.
understand, that's my concern.
Right.
That's my concern. So
So-
that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna appoint somebody that doesn't fit into that group because they're coming forward and we're trying to do the best job we can to put people on something. And I just won't be a part of it.
Maria, if your perspective is it's a failing, if your perspective is, and I respect it, we all have opinion, but if your opinion is from the beginning, it's gonna fail anyway, then.
Because no matter who comes here to be on the board, if we don't take
On
one.
the board, you said that we're gonna fail at siting council.
You know.
It's a process. So if you don't have confidence that we can succeed at siting council, I can understand why you wouldn't have confidence that a commission like this could have an impact. But that would be your opinion. But I mean, I'm just saying, I know the community would like they want as much help as possible to oppose industrial solar, whatever it takes. That's what we've been hearing. We heard people
Yeah.
come in here. And so they want to have whatever means are possible. This is a means that's possible. And whether or not they allow it as an intervener,
What they're doing is possible if they continue doing what they're doing.
how is that going to impact the siting council? What they're doing?
Because they're represented in town. What difference does it mean if they're on a council or not?
They don't
I
get
gotta
to.
say,
Oh, sorry, Jason. What?
Watching the siting council proceeding last week,
Yeah.
it looks pretty clear that they're listening.
Well,
Agreed.
I heard that they said that we don't have to disagree on whether they're listening or not. I agree with you, Jason. They said certain members, not all of them, but certain members made it absolutely clear. They consider what's happening with gravel pit solar to be a big problem for our community, that expansion.
I heard that.
They said that loud and clear. They didn't talk about salt box solar, and that may be a different view of the world when you get to that one, because that's a different project. This is an expansion project. So the 30 megawatts of gravel pit solar, and when it comes time for the next one, they may say, so we don't really know. But I heard the same thing as you. There's some members on there that are truly heard, right? Okay, that's perfect. What I'm saying is that, yeah, the public group is doing tremendous work. But when it comes to intervening in the siting, to me, the intervention in the siting council, it's not just that, it's assisting with recommendations for the POCD, assisting with the recommendations for other ordinances that the board of selectmen might want to put forward. It's brainstorming and say, hey, listen, here's some ideas. And I expect that this board of selectmen, as if we go through with this and do it the way we're constituting it, I expect that this board of selectmen is going to be putting our heads together and trying to come up with some good ideas that they bring us, and we have our own, to really try to see if we can implement resistance to this industrial solar. We have the opportunity to be like the leading town in the state that has the strategies and mechanisms for doing this as a board of selectmen, as a community. This is an opportunity for us. And the commission is going to help us with that. And if it succeeds or fails, then fine, but we're testing it. That's the way I look at it, Jason. It's a test. And they want it. And we should, and they want to have as many strategies as possible. And like I said, this could be the first time that a commission of like a board of selectmen seeks to intervene. It could have a tremendous effect on the fucking council. We don't even know yet. Let's find out. It may have a huge effect.
And I think it'll have more effect if the town keeps their own, like we have it. And if all those people that are interested, and it's more than just 9, so why exclude them? They can do it and come to us like they did this last time, and then we can put what we agree with forward. Because siting council is going to look at it and say, oh, this is just another part of the town, and they're going to flip it, those that don't agree. And I think that's a disservice to people that have been working from day one.
Just being as a repeating staff. Even if you create a commission and you're saying that the minutes will be taken by themselves, it's not, it's against FOIA. If it's public entity, it has to be covered. That's a law. If you don't have it, then it's going to be unofficial commission. So it's not going to be part of the official town. And then the intervener, I was looking up at the siting council. No matter what, you have to file a
Right.
request, and it's still up to siting council
Right.
to decide whether they're going to approve or not.
Right.
If they disapprove, so you're not going to get anywhere. But I think the biggest impact that this time it happened, this group, they all had filed individually. Yes, they emailed, made phone calls. I think that made a huge deal, rather than because that's where I'm just.
Right. But Sabo, when you send in a letter or you send in emails or the petitions, that comes as part of they as part of their record. But individuals don't get to participate in the process of the public hearing, except by testimony, the people who get to come in. I think, again, we have the potential to test something which is novel, which is probably going to succeed if they want to. I mean, there's a basis for this group to be an intervener, just like the town. I mean, it would be an ordinance charter commission of the town. I think it has as good a success to be granted intervener status as anything. Okay, and if we succeed with that, we have to be very careful in how we go about, presenting information to synergize, as you just said, Jason. We don't want anything, and Alan, we don't want anything working cross currents. But the power of that perspective as an intervener could be really groundbreaking. And we don't know. And the fact that they're already open to listening might mean that there's an opportunity there. And so I'm just saying, let's try it. Let's try it. If we don't like it, if it's not working, if there's a problem, then we solve that. We do something about it. But if it's working, then we put ourselves on the map and we do something that might really stop this industrial solar in our town. Possibly. I mean, it's an outcome. Alan, we're all trying to figure out as a community, as individuals, as groups, as first selectmen, as our legislative bodies, everybody's trying to figure out a way to deal with this uncalled menace, whatever you want to call it. Okay. This is another tool, and it could be huge. It could also be nothing, right? But we should try it. It doesn't cost us anything to try it. We vote, we set the ordinance, we appoint the people, and they go about their business. And like I said, if we don't like it, we don't have to continue it. And if it's great, it's tremendous. I mean, it has a chance of really having a tremendous impact. And because I know you know this, Jason, the having that part of it participate in when you testify in siting council, right? You're first selectman, okay? That's the only real opportunity that the siting council gets to hear the emotional impact, the behind the scenes impact. Because the town attorney doesn't do that. They deal with this stuff, okay? To bring to bear a lot of that, the whole entire community, right? Not taking away to bring that to bear to the siting council, to force them to listen, to force them to participate. I don't know. Maybe other towns will do the same thing if we can do it. Maybe they'll shut us down because they don't want to hear it, but we'll find out. But can't hurt. I'm just not seeing how it can hurt. And Marie, honestly, I get your perspective, but there's a lot of potential problems, pitfalls, and traps in this. But there's also the potential that the people in the community that are doing all of this work right now will have a mechanism and a channel to put that stuff on the tip of a spear and put it into the siting council.
So I'm supportive of this idea, generally speaking. But if you think back prior to any of this ever happening. A lot of towns, I don't know, a decade ago, 15 years ago, were putting together, green, they weren't called specifically solar, but like green committees or commissions that were looking into advocating for solar and this and that, for people, to, get the information out there for energy efficiency and all that stuff. I'd like to kind of see some of that stuff folded into this. And I think the other stuff besides, trying to do battle with the siting council are important things. And I think maybe that like we should look at that focus a little bit to, become a clearinghouse, like some of these other commissions that were, prior, like I said, prior to this issue, that towns were putting together, that are, of course, like any other commission, all townspeople, volunteers, that, help people with making decisions about, solar on the roofs, rain gardens, all that stuff. I think maybe we should put some of that in there. Also, I was thinking as a compromise, maybe that we just put this as a, an 18-month, like we've done with,
A commission instead of an ordinance.
with other groups. Let it take its course. Like, so what arts and culture, right? We just renewed them because it's going great. They got a good membership. They're making a big impact. Everybody, they've got a budget. Everything's working out well. I think maybe we kind of take that route with it.
I think a committee won't get intervener status at all. I do think though shortening it to 18 months instead of 2 years is good, is fine, because we can test it for a shorter period of time. I don't think that a town committee, like an arts and culture committee, would get status, but I think a
What's the
commission would.
difference?
Because one is a ordinance, is a commission formed by ordinance through the town charter for a specific job with a specific role, okay? And commissions are supposed to be, I just think it's heightened level of responsibility. A committee is just works gathering information for the body, and ultimately the
And
committee.
that's what this is doing, really, right?
No,
I mean, just from the description that's on there, that's what it's doing.
I don't think a committee would have any chance of getting status and intervener status. We could form committees all day and say they want to be in intervener status.
Didn't that's the reason he wanted to do it.
There's a commission. This is formed through our charter and formed by ordinance. And Jason, I don't have any issue with making it 18 months or 18 months versus 2 years.
Well, you have a
That's
membership
okay.
is 2 years, but I'm talking about the life of like making a committee, making the life.
Well, we
Like
could put a
we get our-
sunset in, we could put a sunset in here. Say this commission will run for, unless extended by, I guess, by town meeting. So you could say this is going to be a 18-month commission. You don't even have to say anything about it extended. They could, if they want to extend it, they come back with another ordinance.
Why wasn't the siting council piece in the original draft?
Which piece?
The intervener piece?
Because I reviewed went through the law carefully in between. Honestly, I went through the entire law to see if, and I saw that, and I saw the opportunity to.
And then the other thing, commission by charter, chair gets to request town attorney advice. So that's a door to working at cross purposes with the same dollars, with the same attorney. Well, maybe not the same attorney because we're using a separate one for this. So I have a concern with that, we're, oh, well, we have a commission and we can do this. And now we're spending legal money going some other direction.
No,
and not with,
I get it, but the way.
headless snake kind of thing.
Yeah, so the way I envision it is that the commission would say, we're not going to talk about it tonight, but the commission would say, here's an ordinance that we think might be useful for stopping industrial solar in town. And then they would send it to, we talk to you guys, and then if everyone's good, I think we would talk to the selectmen first, but before we
To
said.
his point, they don't need to.
Okay, they go to the town attorney, say, would you please review this to see if this is a legal
And
ordinance?
we're just racking up everything. Every time they got an idea, we're racking up another couple hours.
It's part of the cost of having a fight against industrial solar. They say, here's an ordinance, I think we should pass it, and then, I think we should go with it, and they say, yeah, it looks good. And then I don't think he spent a couple of hours on this, probably spent, 10 minutes on this, 15 minutes. And then the same thing, we want to make a recommendations about the plan of conservation development. Here's what other towns have been doing to change their POCD, specifically to address industrial solar. We'd like to make a recommendation to the powers that be that the POCD should be adjusted to include this language. They could theoretically go to the attorney and say, does this sound like it's good language or bad language? And then an issue, okay, taxing. I'm not getting into the issues, but like taxation, like if you were to change the core taxation from agriculture to industrial, whenever they get a application in, right? We say that's going to happen. You would have to go to the assessor.
That happens anyway.
It does, but maybe on the application date versus the time that they enter or they enter to say, I'm just saying, like, let's say they enter an option is not going to do it, but the time they commit, right, on an option or something, or they make their application, can we convert it to then? And then the question would be, someone would have to talk to the assessor, someone would have to talk to the town official, someone would say, is this legal? Can you do this? Can you flip it at that point, right? Because the assessment has to be based on can you do it at that point or not? Or you have to wait till some other date, because I know right now it's another date. I don't want to get into the specifics, right? So yeah, it's before you put something out there and say, let's take this, you might want to ask an attorney, is this legal?
That's another reason why I'm concerned. I don't want to be taking the work away from our planning and zoning office, assessor's office. That's their job to do that. It's their job to do that. Now, you guys have something that you want to submit to them, can submit to them. But this, to me, and because you don't want to talk about specifics of what they might have planned, and that's fine, because it could change and we're on board if it goes through. But I just think we're going to get ourselves into legal issues more so than what we think. Because they're going to do something and if they present it somewhere, it's going to bypass what planning and zoning is going to do, because they don't have to report to this group as to what their plans are for the future. And I just think it's just going to just snowball us up and just something that it shouldn't be. What's happening now is working.
Maria, I have to say it's not working.
It is working. You yourself admitted that you're already starting to change how they're feeling about what's happening with Gravity Bit Solar.
No, I didn't quite say that.
Yeah, you did. Redo the tape.
I said that I agree with Jason, that certain members clearly were concerned about the community impacts, and they made it very clear, they wanted to have a full public hearing with public input. They didn't want to bypass it. In fact, some of those people probably literally came out and said they're not going to support
And I'm sure
it,
that poor
right?
farmer
Probably
that's
two or three people.
because he
right?
can't afford to farm it,
Right?
has an issue too,
Right.
which was what was put into my information to the siting council. Can you at least make sure that those people that currently are planning on selling their property, that you purchase their property so they can move forward and you can decide what you're going to do with it later? Because it's not just half the town. There's other people in town that this board has to be concerned about, and that's our farmers, regardless of how many there are or there aren't.
But Marie, the
They have
farmers
needs, and I'm
can't,
concerned reading your thing here, because I just got it tonight,
right,
about the scenic and historic roads from industrial solar impact.
right. That was one of the things the siting council would like to see. Does the town designate scenic and historic? I'm not saying we're getting into nitty gritty and debating.
We can get that information from planning and zoning and know that it's going to be accurate and up to date, because the law changes all the time.
I think.
I just feel it's going to, I'm done. I'll just keep my mouth shut. Go ahead.
If
I don't want to argue, because I think your intentions are good, but
I think if the board would agree to do this approach, modifying it so that the board appoints and the board does this, then we can move forward with that. If the board doesn't want to do it, then the community could do it on their own. And I'm just saying that would not be the kind of synergistic thing we're looking for. But they could petition for this. And so that's why I'm saying, let's do it this way. Let's put the Board of Selectmen make the appointments. Let's put the Board of Selectmen in the middle of this. And let's do it this way. That's the way to do it. And we're working
It sounds a lot like a threat,
No, why would you say that?
because it was an if-then statement.
I'm saying that I know the community, the people I've spoken with, which is the people involved in the solar thing, would like this to happen. They'd like to be involved in it.
well,
I'm recommending to the board that we do it. And you folks have made recommendations that we revise, well, the original, that the Board of Selectmen appoints and that the Board of Selectmen makes these appointments, et cetera. It's not a threat. If we can't get enough votes up here to do it, then the town may want to do it anyway. And that's what I'm saying. And it's not a threat. I'm just saying the reality of it. People may perceive it as, Board of Selectmen don't want this to happen. And I don't want people to perceive that. Honestly, I really want people to say that we as a group support whatever we can do to fight industrial solar.
And I agree with that statement. We as a board done that and we have shown that.
Right. That's what I want. That's why I have this here. That's why I brought this here. I like this to happen. It's not just me. We all would like to have some form of whatever help we can get to stop this thing from happening.
I was hoping we would have 50 people in this room tonight that want to be interveners and that want to be part of this movement here tonight, talking in public session, and there's not one person here. There's not one person here.
They were at the legislative building today.
There were 6 people at the legislative building. 2 of them were children. And I appreciate everything that they did. Everything that they did. And I understand people have other things they're doing. I get all of that. But there were 6 people up there. Kudos to them. I think that's the way it should be. It gets more recognized when it's not political. This is going to become political. And that's the thing that's been thrown out there day after day after day.
Marie, why is this political?
They're following that person, they're following this person. Let them follow themselves and come to us. And then we can take what they have as a board.
Marie, why is this?
We would do with everybody else when come through. If they have a concern, we address, we move forward.
Why would you think that this is political? This is an apolitical.
It's going to be political. As soon as I don't appoint somebody that's on that board wants, it's going to become political. It's going to become political.
Well, that's the appointment process.
If I want to resign from here, to be on that board,
You wouldn't have to do
and
that.
you don't vote for me, I know at least 10 people are going to say, oh, it's because she said I'm on the board and now it's going to be political. That's the game plan that's happening out there. And I don't like it. I'm done with it.
You wouldn't have to resign to sit on this commission.
Sure do. You can't sit on any boards and commissions.
Yes, you
if you're on
can.
the board of selectmen.
Board of Finance.
Just the board.
Yeah, that's you.
Been there.
Right.
So I'm again supportive, and I just like reiterate, like I would like to see the charge or the duties and responsibilities. I get that, right now it's, let's fight the siting council but that's going to come up, once every couple of years.
Right.
What are you going to do in the meantime? There's a lot of really good things that could be done.
Right.
And I like some of the ones that have been listed. But maybe we could look at some other stuff that
I made a note of it.
that,
I agree.
okay, and then again, I just have to go back to, the concern, because people are all fired up and they want to do something against the interveners. I mean, against the setting council. I don't want to now start racking up legal bills because we got these 10 ideas that we want to run by the lawyer, and we're already paying a lawyer to do that for us.
So why don't we have
So
why don't we have the requests for legal services go through the board of selectmen for selectmen?
Well, already by charter, it goes to the
No.
first selectman.
Board and commission chairs can go right around me.
True, that's right. And that is my concern. So, but I don't think we can
All right.
change it by charter. That's why I was saying if we went to committee, then that changes that, and then we could put that in there, and then that allays my concern.
Alan, I just said,
Well, let's look into that. Can you look into
what?
like
Did you limit the legal issues to as commission or?
how can you limit? No, if you were to go as a committee, why I just want to know, why is that less weight in front of the deciding council than the commission? I don't see if it's a elected or appointed committee by this town bears, it's getting a budget from the town for recording secretary and whatever else they might feel they need. Why is that any less than a commission? And if you take it the other direction, then it allays my concern of like, we're just racking up time and working cross purposes with a lawyer. If we could just settle that, that's really my only concern. The rest of this, I'm good with. I get it. And I'd like to see it used for other things besides just we want to fight the siting council, which is a good goal.
Well,
But
that's an issue that I have thought about, is that there's a lot of overlapping issues with what Keith drafted and with the Ag Commission. There's a lot.
With the Ag Commission does?
The Ag Commission and Planning and Zoning Commission has jurisdiction over pretty much everything that you laid out in the ordinance.
They don't. The Ag Commission isn't doing anything to gather solar data and solar information. I've been to Ag Commission meetings. They don't do any of this.
Well,
And that's why I'm saying that, a lot of towns, even before this green law was passed, towns were doing, green commissions that were, gathering information, telling people how to do this, that, and the other thing, for sustainability. if you put more of that in there, it gives them something else to do besides, you're not going to be fighting the siting council every day for the next 6 years.
So let me make a suggestion. Let me incorporate all the changes that we agreed on. Let me add in some new elements for the things you're talking about. Let me get you a write-up. I'll write something up about committee versus commission. And about, at least from my perspective, what I think, make an argument one way or the other, okay?
Yeah, sure.
And then we come back at our next meeting, which is not, because this is a special meeting anyway, right?
This it was a regular meeting that was just scheduled differently.
Okay, at our next meeting, we'll have a fully, not fully, we'll have the revised ordinance with the things we talked about tonight. We'll address committee versus commission. I'll add in these pieces that you just talked about additional work. And then we'll just continue our discussion.
Could you work off of the red line
I will.
so that we can track all the, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that don't quite jive. So if we
Okay.
could work off one version of that, that
Yep.
would be better.
Okay,
So he's gonna work off of the
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 version that Josh sent. Did I send that to you electronically?
no,
I will.
okay. I just have the PDF of it.
And it was 5507 is the. Statute.
5507, right? That's a House bill. That's not the statute name. Let me see if I have the statute name.
It's a House bill,
It's Public Act 24-144.
24, what, 142?
24-144.
Thank you.
Great. Moving right along. We have another ordinance to talk about. Ms. Calabrese, how are you this evening? Yes.
In your packet, there's attachment B.
Yep.
Fees for community service. Remember when, a couple months ago,
Margin.
and we reviewed suggested changes to the fee schedule. And at that time, I had been referencing a fee ordinance that actually included fees within it. And it was ordinance 0302. And I was trying to come in lockstep with the building department as the Board of Selectmen making the decision. And actually had mistakenly thought that 90-11 had been superseded by 0302. And it was pointed out at the meeting, perhaps that one was still alive. I was looking sequentially because 9012 got repealed. And so there's two ordinances on the books right now that do the same thing. One where the Board of Selectmen has the authority to set the fee schedule, and one at town meeting. So I have both ordinances that
Oh,
are,
you got it now, okay.
yeah,
I'll take a look at that.
one on each side of the paper.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Ruth, I thought the state statute is the one that says that it has to be done by the legislative body, right? I thought the
Yeah,
Board of Selectmen
it's,
was to-
the 8-1C.
I think this, the statute required that these get, that's the legislative body, not that, you can't delegate to the selectmen. That's why we talked about coming back and having this one here, this 03-02.
Right, that we were gonna, what the board did was vote for town meeting to set the schedule.
Both of these have the legislative body setting the schedule, the 90-12 and the 03-02, right?
The Let me get my 12s right.
Yep.
Yes, on 3. As Board of Selectmen.
Which one does?
11.
90-11.
Is that the one? Exactly. Yeah. I thought that the statute, that's, I think you're referencing in here, right? It's 8-11, I can't read it. That's
8-1, see.
1C?
Change the history. I'm talking about.
So it talks in 8-1C about it says any municipality may by ordinance establish a reasonable schedule. Any municipality may by regulation require any person. And I think that's why these were written originally as the legislative body to fit within the statute, because it talks about the municipality may.
Well, the ordinance is actually older than the statute.
Okay. But the ordinances are legislative body, 9012, which one?
So 90-11
Right.
has the Board of Selectmen.
What date is that though? When was that done?
Going to be in 90.
December 7th, 1990 was placed in the JR.
So it could have been that the statute was amended to require it gets done by the municipality. And maybe that's one of the reasons why the ordinance was amended.
And 3.
Yeah. And so that's why I was saying last time it was inconsistent with the statute. I thought it was inconsistent with the statute to have the board of selectmen set the fees. And I thought that the statute that said legislative body would set the fees was the right one. Because the statute says a municipality may. And then you were gonna come back in with the fee schedule, and I think we were gonna,
That's what.
Yeah.
right? And then we were gonna set out to ordinance the revision to the either 03, 02, or yeah, because you don't put the fee schedule in the ordinance, right? You just
I
reference.
took it out.
Right.
The 03 had it in that town meeting.
Right.
I needed to change the fee.
Right, and that's, I think, what my understanding of it is we don't want to have a town meeting every time we change a fee.
But you have to, yeah.
Is that how other towns are doing it now too?
That's what the statute says. And the ordinance is older than the statute.
I'm pretty sure it was a lawyer that gave us that, because we went through this in wetlands when we were putting together the fee schedule for wetlands. And I'm pretty sure the lawyer told us, well, don't put it in the ordinance.
It's the history.
It says by municipal zoning commissions, planning commissions, combined planning and zoning commission, zoning board of appeals, or in the wetlands commission. So that would be also the municipality has to do it.
Well, but that's for application fees. You're reading sub B.
So it'd be the same thing though. Any municipality may by regulation. So it's the
But
same.
sub B is talking about, by regulation.
No, I'm talking about A and B are both the same.
No, A is talking about establishing fees for processing of
Processing, right.
applications
Yeah.
by ordinance. B is talking about applying for,
Reasonable fees associated with necessary review and
yeah,
consultants.
the
right?
review work.
Right. So, but it's the same language. It says, it applies to zoning board of appeals and in wetlands, et cetera. So I think we have to have an ordinance that has the fee in it, like they did in 90-12 and pass it at a town meeting.
What you were proposing, right? And that's the handout.
So in the packet, what I drafted up is be it ordained that the legislative body, by way of town meeting, is hereby empowered to authorize establishment process of applications by the Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, and Aquifer Protection Agency, and to amend or change any and all existing fees adopted by ordinance or regulation. such schedules and amended fees shall supersede any specific fee set forth in the general statutes, which I put there, existing ordinance or existing regulation of yeah, in question pursuant to the powers granted to the town under section 8-1C, the Connecticut General Statutes. Tag at the end of the last ordinance like this, and it said in all other respects, the ordinance adopted on June 30th, 1908 is ratified and continued. Don't exactly know what that means, but suggested I not use that.
But Ruth, it seems that this one basically says the town meeting is empowered by, which we already have in the ordinance. And it doesn't set the schedule per se. The 90-12 is the one that's written exactly the way I think that this was intended, which was be it ordained that the legislative body of the town pursuant to the authority contained in 8-1C, Connecticut General Statutes as amended, the following schedule of fees for the processing of land use applications by planning and development is adopted. And this way, it's only specific to your department without having to get into
Deal with
any
the
ordinance
ordinance.
fees, right?
Got it.
Because
That's,
Because you don't want to have one new ordinance with everybody else's fees in there either. You just want to.
you never want to bring the ordinance up just to change the fees.
You have to bring the ordinance up to change.
I think that's what the lawyer was saying. Then so I think so the town meeting has to, if that's the way you understand it, the legislative body, right, has to approve the fees. But I don't think you want to have the fees, and I think this was what the lawyer was telling us. You don't want to have the fees in the ordinance. You want the ordinance to be the ordinance, and then say the fees will be changed, check with the lawyer.
Right there.
It's in statute.
It's the
You
fifth
can't-
word.
like, it makes no sense. You're putting the ordinance in, like the ordinance could be changed at town meeting to something ridiculous. Every time you try to change, I need to raise this for $5.
You have to.
That makes no sense.
I know, but that's what I think. I think,
This is attached.
Ruth, that language there is different than 90-12. That language, the language that you have in your hand basically says that the town meeting, the legislative body is empowered to do these things. But 90-, that's already an ordinance. We already have that.
Talking about,
But she wants to
Oh,
update the
no,
fees,
too.
is what she's trying.
Yeah, copy 90-12 and put the new fees in.
okay, so this is. Real.
Yeah.
It repealed 12.
Repeals which one?
What was repealed?
Yeah, because that was the old fee schedule.
But it was replaced with 302.
Yeah, just what I'm suggesting is you have a new ordinance, call it, I don't know, whatever you call it, 25-1. And what I'm suggesting is you just take the language here,
Yep.
the town of East Windsor, put the fees in, and we pass that as a new ordinance.
And repeal all the other ones.
It's something very similar to
Right.
that.
Or we repeal the prior one.
What is it, 81?
8-1C.
It just makes no sense to me that you could bring your ordinance up and have it totally wrecked by a bunch of maniacs. Like you could have anything put in that ordinance in a
But-
town meeting.
Right?
You can amend it to anything you want.
Well, the ordinances have to they have to survive the scrutiny of the town attorney.
Okay, sure, but the town meeting, once you put it in there, I can amend it to whatever I want.
Well,
And it would then make it null and void and stupid and broken, but now you gotta go see the lawyer
that's what
and have another town meeting.
that's problem with the town meetings, if you want to look at a problem. But the upside is that, well,
So we just need to update.
Anyway.
Okay.
I don't know who wrote that ordinance, but that was,
The table that's attached.
I wonder though, if you attach a table, will our clerk let us attach a table to an ordinance?
No, but I could put
Just
it,
gotta put it in the
I'll
body.
just,
Put it in the body.
I'll put it in the body.
Right.
I'll make it like more, like.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, the office will have it.
is it 8-1?
8-1C, yeah.
It's all good.
Getting there.
Well, if you
Did
are,
you do CGS?
I
if
did
you're good with the
CGI.
schedule, I can do
Yes.
free.
Well, actually, that's a great thing. I'm fine with the schedule as you presented it, but that's true. We shouldn't have you redrafted and then tackle over the schedule if there's any changes to it. So Are there, any objections to the fees as presented so that she can draft that?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'd ask that we table agenda item 8C until after executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll now turn to requests from the Board of Education, and the Board of Ed Chair is here if she wants to present her request. But it pertains to the available bonding capacity for the town relative to infrastructure projects. Madam Chairman, good evening.
Good evening. I think we included the letter in your packet.
Oh, all right.
We include the letter in your packet, basically saying, we were giving kind of a general amount that the town can bond for right now, but we weren't given, we know there's other projects and we don't expect that the schools would take the whole amount that the town has available. I would think you would want to keep some of it that no one was using, and I would think that if there's other projects, that might be a consideration of what's coming up in the next few years. So we were just kind of looking to get a general idea of what, might be available in the bank so that we can make better decisions about what projects we want to, have the town consider for the school renovation and possible new building projects.
Sure. So for the benefit of the room, I'll read the letter and then and if you want to come up and join the conversation, feel free. Dear members of the Board of Selectmen, on behalf of the Board of Education, I'm writing and respectfully request clarification regarding the town's current debt capacity, particularly as it pertains to upcoming school projects. We understand that the town may be considering other potential projects over the next several years, and we certainly appreciate the importance of planning for all of the community's needs. However, in order for the Board of Education to effectively continue its planning and move forward with addressing critical school facility needs, we require a more definitive answer regarding the amount of debt capacity that will be available for school-related projects. Having a clear understanding of the financial parameters will allow the Board of Education to responsibly prioritize, design, and implement necessary projects that will benefit our students and the broader community. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for your ongoing partnership and support. Look forward to your timely response and continued collaboration. Signed by the chair.
And for clarity, we do plan kind of after the budget season has finished up to write a similar letter to the Board of Finance too, just as part of the process.
That was specifically my note.
Yeah, we do have that on our list. We were just honestly kind of waiting, but we don't have to wait. Obviously, it's a separate issue, but we were going to also draft pretty much the same letter to the Board of Finance, just to say, just looking for clarity on what's available for bonding capacity.
Okay, you said you had a number, somebody gave you some number, but you want to know what part of it? Can you tell us what number you were told or where we're at?
Jason may remember better. It was a discussion with the first selectman and Amy,
So the question that was asked of us was, what is our existing debt capacity? And the answer to that we can get to is $43.5 million. That is the totality of that which we can get. And that the reason that you get to that is because your outstanding debt can't be more than 10% of your total operating budget. So if our operating budget is $48 million, we can only get to $4.8 million of debt. So you have to back into the number to figure out what the capacity is. Of course, we don't have zero debt right now, so you have to consider that debt which already exists. So it comes $43.5 million that is available and accessible to the town.
So that's, I think, now I understand the reason for wanting to get some feedback, because the projects that are sort of floating out there would exceed that if it was, they were all
well, and
bonded.
that's
No.
it. I mean,
They would not.
well,
The school, I'm not talking about only the school, I'm talking about the school plus the fire department plus the potential, I mean,
So-
whatever's out there, it sounds like the people have talked about in the next 3 to 5 years or so for projects. Those projects combined would exceed that, I think, based upon the numbers that I've seen for the.
So the school projects as presented, you have to back into what the cost is based on what the reimbursement rate is from the state. And that's a gigantic question mark that is a
Right.
little bit of a moving target. So you don't really know that. But it probably, the available school projects would probably be somewhere around $110 to $120 million in total, in order for the debt capacity based on what your reimbursement rate is. That moves a lot based on what the number is. There are other projects that we will need to encumber funds for at some point. The ones that I come up with right off the top of my head are the emergency radio system is a big deal. And we have a good chunk of money towards that, but we do not have enough to cover the total project as of now. The renovation, if there's going to be a renovation at the police department, that's going to be a cost. We are out of road money, so if we're going to make any road improvements, that's going to be a cost. And then the fire department I had with a question mark because it's unclear how that will affect our debt capacity because they can borrow too. And we have access to significantly more in terms of bonded debt, but we can't access it because of the constraints of the budget. And that's not something that we can even fix with if the vote next Tuesday were to pass, we can't change that. That's just the total operating budget needs to grow in order for our available debt to grow. But the Broadbrook Fire Department is outside of the general fund. So they may, and I don't know this, but they may still have access to the greater bonding capacity without affecting our debt access. So I put a big question mark there as to how that works, but that's a question that should be asked. Those are just the projects that I'm aware of. I don't know if anybody else has projects that jump out at them that we really do need to do. But I mean, those projects, I think come close to maxing out the 43.5, inclusive of 30 million for the schools.
How close are I'm not asking for a firm commitment, but how close is the subcommittee and the groups to picking an option and making a recommendation? Because I hate to see, in a sense, you say, listen, we're only going to, we say to you, well, and I don't think we should say this necessarily. My opinion is we wouldn't say, oh, we think $35 million is the most that we think you guys should get. And then you folks say, okay, it's going to cost us 42 million and therefore it's a no-go. Or we have to change you can't change the educational specs. So we have to change something big. It seems that you should come to the town and say, this is our recommendation. And then we see, because I thought it was somewhere around that, right?
And the ad hoc committee are still kind of working on those. We actually have just recently received more finalized ed specs that we're going to be looking at. So it has kind of been one of those, we thought we would have those earlier than we do, but we're getting closer. In terms of that, we have kind of discussed that for the middle school, high school, between looking at a renovate to new versus a new building project, we are definitely leaning more towards a new building project, just because now that we know more about the parameters, it seems more affordable and more directly what we want as a town in terms of keeping the middle school and the high school separate, but having them on the same campus.
Right.
And then we also have the renovation plan at the Broadbrook School is what we're looking into. But I think both the Board of Ed and the ad hoc committee are still kind of in the process of determining whether we would come forth with both of those projects at the same time or whether they would be split. There's kind of some pros and cons to both of that. So that's still under determination and may depend on, as Jason said, there's a lot up in the air about reimbursement rates. If certain legislation is passed and depending on the timing that becomes available, if it is passed, then we might get much higher reimbursement rates, which would make them more doable, make it more affordable for the town if we have higher reimbursement rates. But there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for that to happen. Things have to get passed in the legislature. We have to find out what the timing is. Then we would have to figure out exactly, how we, what's the word that I'm looking for, whether we do come into those parameters that are being discussed in terms of special education funding, in terms of having, the preschool at the elementary school like we do right now. There's some different things that kind of come into play with that.
I mean, it seems that you know what the max is for capacity, and the group that's working on this would say, let's try to be sensitive to the fact that other projects are looking for capacity. But at the end of the day, if you have a project which is sort of like I don't want to say the minimal what you need, but you have to have a project to go out to the voters. And if it's going to cost $40 million of potential taxpayer bonding, then that's what it's going to cost if you go out with.
You can't get it.
What do you mean can't get it?
You actually can't get to it. It's not, this isn't a question of willingness. We're precluded from exceeding
No, you said it was 43 was the
Oh, yes,
max.
I'm sorry, yes.
No, what I'm saying, I was given a hypothetical to say it came in a little below it, right? So let's say they come in at 40 and that's the project. That has to be the project. Then you have to come in with the project. Because if you can't, if that's the lowest that you can, if everyone's being responsible, my view, right? And be considerate, they're gonna come in with a project that takes into account that there's other projects that the town needs, other things the town needs. And
Well, and that's why we were just trying to figure out exactly what those were. And I mean, I knew that the radio project was one of them and that there's been discussions about the fire and the police. But again, like you said, the fire department may be a different situation. We're not really sure how they get into that. So that's why we needed kind of at least a ballpark number more than just the 43 to know, what might be available and then determine how we can move forward.
So it really, I hate to say it quite this way, but it really all hinges on what the reimbursement rate is.
Mhm.
I would think, given the back of the envelope cost estimates on those other projects that I rattled off, 30 is the tops. But I mean, the legislation that you were talking about with the reimbursement for special education and for early education would change our reimbursement rate from 63% to possibly as high as 93%. Well, if we get 93% reimbursement on a $100 million project, that means for $9 million, we get to do everything we want. That's a good deal. But that legislation, first of all, has not passed. Secondly, it has an implementation date of July 1st. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get an extension for the application for the school construction process now, for the June 30th extension into sometime in the fall. Well, then are we playing under the old rules or the
Right,
new rules?
we're not sure yet. Even if we get an extension, does it still mean it was an extension off June 30th? And if that goes into effect July 1st, then we can't play with it, like we can't get that.
Really, you're paused until
So-
then.
We need to, yeah, that's what needs to, but I guess one of my questions was also if we're borrowing that amount and then we're getting paid back through the reimbursement, is it still that you have to have, like, if we only have 43 million, say, and it is a $50 million project, which I don't think it is, but like we can't, even if it was 95% reimbursement, we can't go out and borrow that
You're
That's
worriing
my
about the total
question.
cost versus the
Yeah.
actual town share? No,
Yeah.
all you need to worry about is the actual town share.
the town share.
We can get to far more than enough to cover the total project cost. We just can't carry it in debt service.
Okay, that
So
was one of my questions, whether you're carrying it at the outset and then reimbursing it, or if
No,
it's just the town.
we would be
share.
able to access dollars in addition to that. We just can't carry it.
Okay,
So if there was a commitment from the state that they would reimburse us at 75%, and that is what the project went to the voters at, and we have to incur more than our capacity until the reimbursement kicks in. The reimbursement is not the dollars to be reimbursed don't count against our debt service. But the other thing that is hanging out there that affects your reimbursement rate is the space. And if you're doing new construction, you guys are still off by about 5,000 square feet. That's got to come in line.
right. Well, and there was discussion of a space waiver through a different legislation situation, so that's
There's
why.
10 days left in the session, so that's
Yeah,
over.
how far, I mean, I don't want to, you don't have to share all the public details about where you're at because you don't want to start a
well, I
fire.
mean, the ad hoc committee meetings are public as well as our Board of Ed meeting.
How far off are you, if to do the new construction conceptually right now, is there like a approximate range? Like where are we at? Like, are you at $60 million potentially at current reimbursement rates? Are you at $30 million?
Well, the reimbursement rate is what we don't know yet, because it depends on whether this legislation passes.
Right.
We don't know the reimbursement rates right now. As Jay said, we're still a little bit over on size for the middle school, high school project with what we originally talked about, but there was discussion of working with one of our state reps for getting a space waiver. Again, as you say, that's near the end, but it's a special, like, joint bill that happens at the end, I believe. So I would have to check with Patrick and Jamie about it works. Like I thought.
It is.
I know, but I thought that it comes up at the very end, like that's how it works. But I will check with Patrick. I know he was in discussions with Senator Anwar and Representative Foster regarding this, so I can, check where but obviously all of that, there was a discussion of getting a space waiver, a discussion of getting a time extension, a discussion of finding out what reimbursement. There's just a lot of things kind of still hanging in the air.
mean, to me, other than the police, the emergency response communication system, a priority. So that's gonna have to get covered as a priority when that comes up. But other than that project, it seems to be that the schools is the first one in. I mean, the one ready to go, and we're gonna
They're
have.
not ready to go.
I thought not this year.
Well, that was the goal. The elementary school could be put to a vote like very soon. That is close to ready. The middle high is not. They just got the ed specs in most recent form Tuesday.
But the elementary school is the one that you would probably push off in order to get the other one accomplished. And if we bond out on the elementary school, then we're gonna probably blow the opportunity to do the other one. I mean, something to think about.
That's, I
Seems to
think
be a
that's
lot.
what the ad hoc committee is.
That seems to be a lot to think about.
Right, exactly.
I don't even know if the public is gonna agree to it either, because there hasn't been any real public communication as far as I'm aware of. Which should have happened probably 3 times already, in my opinion, but my opinion is just my opinion, and take it for what it's worth. But you can't say, okay, we've got all
Well,
this
and that's
situated.
one of
We've
our,
got this, we've got this all situated, and then tomorrow we're gonna vote on it, and people haven't had a time to decide whether or not they want it. And right now, the survey that went out in the mail for people to look at and do, sorry, that was a waste of taxpayers' money because it served no purpose.
That guy's no longer with us.
Well, it's too bad he was with us to begin with, but that happens. I'm not faulting anyone, that happens, but I got it and I didn't even fill it out. I said, I ain't filling it out. That's useless. What's that got to do with anything? And if we got rid of him and he was part of the company that we got, I would have more concerns, but lesson learned. But I would like to see what the public plans are. Because the last time we talked about stuff, the public wasn't up for about doing anything to schools. So, whether I agree or disagree with it is a moot point. I'm just one vote, but, it's tough. And right now, the decision was made that 5th grade is going to be part of the move. If they combine the two schools, and I know that's out there because I've heard it. I don't know if other has. They don't want their 5th graders in at the high school. They don't care that people are going to divide it. Still going to somehow come in contact. And I agree with them on that, but.
But Marie, I think they were talking about earlier, having 2 separate, doing construction like new, do new construction. They create
In the process of.
creating 2 separate campuses, so they wouldn't be across.
And I'm gonna
Right.
use my experience.
Yeah.
When I was in 5th grade, I went to the high school, 5th grade.
Right.
5th and 6th, and all of us so-called low-income people went to that wing, and we weren't to have any contact with the high school student. You know how many kids got their head flushed down the toilet? A lot.
Not funny.
It's not fun, but it is fun. And how many kids were harassed outside from those kids that walk and those high school kids that walk? So I don't care how much anybody wants to put out there that there isn't gonna be anybody coming in contact with anybody, it's going to happen. In my opinion, but I think we need to get public input first.
2 things. I would like to agree that we are also frustrated as a Board of Ed and the ad hoc committee that there haven't been more public kind of meetings or hearings about this. I mean, our meetings are public. People can come to the ad hoc committee, they can come to the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed did have a meeting specifically that was held here that was informational about
The
this
night of open
project.
house. Come on. And again, he had a meeting on
I'm
the, on the
speaking
day.
now, Marie,
So
so if
you're
you
right.
let me
I
finish.
apologize.
I would
You're
appreciate
absolutely
it.
right. I apologize.
We have also expressed our frustration about not having as many meetings about this. That was one of the things that we set out that was important. And I think that's maybe why it does get delayed a little bit, because the ed specs took a lot longer to come in. We did not know, ed specs were originally supposed to be like January, December, February. It is now almost June. So we didn't want to come to the public without knowing exactly what we were talking about either. It's really hard to come to the public when you don't have a plan. That is part of why we were delaying that a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily our choice either. With, as Jason said, we aren't using the person that we were originally using, and we weren't told by CSG who the new firm was that we were able to use for more marketing and public meetings. And so that had kind of gotten delayed along with the ed specs. We were hopeful that once we had plans that we could share, that we would have more public meetings, get more public input, and let people know exactly what we were talking about. It's been hard to do that before we could make decisions as a board as to what we were supporting. So I agree with your frustration, but there are reasons behind it.
Well,
And I think we're kind of off the topic of the debt service part, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you
Yeah.
need to defend yourself against
Yeah.
all our opinions on every other thing that has to do with the school. But so we're with the debt service, and I think we've sort of answered it. We don't know, right? Is the answer?
Yes.
I'm comfortable giving them a ceiling of 30.
Yeah.
I know the math, I know how it works, I know what the policy says, and that's a safe number, assuming voters go for it. But if you plan for that, and the reimbursement rates work that way, then that's a number that allows the town to take care of other needs as well.
All right, I appreciate that. And as we said, we will draft a similar letter to the Board of Finance just to let them know, where we're at, or we can say, this is what we received. Is this also, something that you would agree is in the ballpark in terms of a number, however,
But if
be
it,
appropriate to.
but Jason, if it turned out they can't do it for 30, I think they need to come to us and tell us what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not a go, no go
Fine. They
number.
just want a number to work off.
I understand.
30 is the number to work off.
Right.
Yeah, okay, we appreciate that.
And
Thank
it's
you.
not cast in stone. There's emergency comes up. I just would hate for it to say we got.
No, I mean, nothing's cast in stone, but that, if you're looking for a ceiling to work on, that's a number that doesn't impact those other priorities or doesn't preclude those other priorities that they have.
Mhm. All right, appreciate that.
But again, that's not an exhaustive list. Talk to the Board of Finance. All right, Mr. Szymanski and Mr. Maynard. We're all warmed up for you guys.
We, at the Greater Together Community Fund, just met, a little over $56,000 of grants we gave to 19 nonprofits and Ted and the athletic club would like to build and enhance. Maybe you could tell me more specifically, or the selectmen more specifically what you plan to do. I know it involves picnic tables at the pavilion.
Okay, each year the athletic club looks for projects to help both either the town or students, for both. We also provide scholarships every year for our scholar athletes. One of the projects we looked at this year, I'm going to say probably 8 months ago, was to start replacing the picnic tables up at the park. They're older, they're wobbly. I mean, they're serviceable, but new ones would be better. We looked into different ways to do it. And then this grant program came aboard, and we applied for it, and we were one of the recipients. We were pretty happy about it. And what we plan on building is a minimum of 15 new picnic tables. And they were gave a price of $4,000. Did price out buying new and a new picnic table. I checked with Melissa in Park and Rec, and companies that they would use. A new picnic table through them would be around $800. And we're looking, trying to do for around $300.
Nice.
And that's with all new lumber and not screwed together, but bolted together to make it last longer. And in looking at these, we're going to use these as a template. And the only difference is the ones that we have now, they don't have that Y brace that goes in the middle of the top of the table to the legs on the side. We're going to add that, and that'll lock it in to be a better table. Some of the people who've received scholarships from us have already volunteered to help, and other members of the athletic club have volunteered to help. And once we get the okay, we're going to start, and we want to have them for this season up there.
Awesome.
We're just going to paint them the same color, brown, so we've already priced lumber. Got 3 different prices on lumber. It's all very close. And when we looked at how those were built and how we want to build them, the hardware was almost as much as the lumber. It's hard to believe, but when you put in bolts instead of screws, it adds up fast. So,
Okay, and reason we're here is that the Harvard Foundation for Public Giving, and the athletic club is a 501c4,
right.
and they have a problem giving money to a 501c4 unless they have a physical agent. And the town can be a physical agent. And I talked to Amy O'Toole, and she said that if with the selectmen's permission, she'll be the physical agent. And all that would mean is Ted would give the bills to Amy and she'd pay him. And the Hartford Foundation would give the money to to Amy to put in a fund and pay this $4,000 picnic table. So she would be the physical agent. So you'll have to, if you will, approve that. And there's like other things that she is the physical agent for, like we gave, you're now going to have two, not sure what they're called. They're drums anyway, for the, I guess junior high, well, the high school band. And then just giving the town money to have a mat for the high jump. They need a new mat for the high jump. And that's the Amy's the physical agent for those gifts. So she said that so kindness to approve it, we'll give Ted the money and will be that.
I think it's an awesome idea.
So
And it's the athletic club we're
Yeah, we're going to
Being
be
the
the
agent
fiscal
for-
sponsor for the athletic. It's the request, which I think is great. We should do it.
You need a motion?
Yep.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen appoint Amy O'Toole on behalf of the town of East Windsor as the fiscal agent. Fiscal agent. It's a fiscal agent to receive the donation of picnic tables for the park from the Greater Together Foundation.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging in there. Tax refunds.
Well. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So. All right, selectmen's reports. So looking ahead, I want to remind everybody about a few community opportunities that are coming up. First, we will be holding a building dedication ceremony for the community center on June 14th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be a short speaking program, food trucks, live music, bounce houses. The high school band and chorus are going to do a performance, and different civic groups are being given an opportunity to do activities that are relevant to what they're doing. So the Scouts are going to do something. The Lions Club is going to do pediatric vision screenings. It's going to be a fantastic day. I hope everybody can join us. This coming weekend, there are two opportunities to commemorate Memorial Day. The first is the Melrose Parade and Ceremony, which is held at the Melrose Cemetery on Sunday at 2:30. And the second is the Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony in Warehouse Point on the Joe Tracy Green. The parade there will begin at 10 with a brief ceremony that follows immediately after. Everybody knows that the budget was not successful last week, which is too bad. But we will try again on Tuesday, the 28th, with a proposed budget that is a mill rate increase of 0.5 mils. We talked about this a little bit just now, but as you may remember, Representative Foster secured for us an $8 million bond for the development of a regional emergency radio system to replace our antiquated local system. And that system, again, is about 25 years old. As part of that process to do that regional radio system, Chief Carl and I have been working with our counterparts in the town of Windsor to develop an interlocal agreement that would allow that project to move forward. That will be up for the Board of Selectmen to approve in short order. I'm not comfortable saying by the next meeting, but maybe. I am excited to share that we have extended an offer to a new tax collector who we're going to talk with in executive session in just a little bit. Sue Chevalier is a resident of the town of Vernon, and she is a 34-year career revenue collector for the IRS. And my favorite stat about her is that she is a 3-time nominee for National Manager of the Year, which is incredibly impressive. I'm excited for the selectmen to get to chat with her in just a little bit. I want to offer congratulations to the local residents who participated in this year's Citizens Academy through the East Windsor Police Department, and thank Deputy Chief Murphy for running that. This is an excellent opportunity for people to get a better understanding of local policing, how our police department works, and what the needs facing our community are. So congratulations to all those who participated. And then building on that success, the East Windsor Police Department will once again be hosting the FBI Youth Leadership Academy from July 28th to 31st. That will be held at the community center. And for more information or to enroll, you can contact Deputy Chief Murphy. That's all I have. Marie.
Yeah, the only thing I have is I had the opportunity to represent Jason at the health department and present a plaque from him in the town to Maria Walden. And she wanted me to come back and extend a thank you to the board for recognizing what she's done and brought her to tears. So I'm glad I had an opportunity to go there because she does great work for them. So wish her luck on her retirement, probably. The other thing I have, the cadets are going to be marching in the Memorial Day parade this year. I saw on Facebook today that they are thanking the community for those that are involved in making donations. The cadets look wonderful in their uniforms. And the picture didn't do many justice because they didn't have the whole uniforms on. They only had they have particular uniforms for particular shirts for particular things. So I had an opportunity to spend some time with them, shuffling through cans and bottles, like the can and bottle drive. And there's some talent in there. And there's some potential talent in there, which is always good. But they're going to do good for the community and they have the desire to want to do good for us. So when people complain about the youth not getting involved, our youth in this town do wherever they can. Another example tonight, we just heard about those that receive scholarships are going to be going to help do the picnic table. So I just want to commend everybody that volunteers their time, that's getting new people to volunteer their time. So that's good for the community. So I thank everybody for doing that. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Al.
Just two things, none of them commission related. I had an opportunity to attend a game under the lights on Abbey Road for girls soccer team. East Windsor has a CGSA travel team that is amazingly good. They are trouncing everybody, and they had a game under the lights. They really enjoyed it. It was real nice. And then on a sadder note, I'd just like to recognize the passing of Kathy Pippin this past week. Kathy served the town in a volunteer basis for several decades, and I worked with her on both the Board of Finance and recently on the Wetlands Commission, and I just really always appreciated her sense of humor and her work ethic. And I just wanted to thank her on behalf of the town for everything she's done and offer condolences to her family. And that's
Very
it.
nice. Keith.
I'm good for tonight. Thanks.
All right, we will have an executive session. There will be action to follow. I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session to include the members of the board and Sue Chevalier. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. There is another public participation. Yes, sir. Name and address. Did I say the 27th? I'm sorry, I wrote the 28th.
It is the 27th. The 27th. The 27th is Tuesday.
Yeah, I got it Tuesday.
27th is great.
27.
You did say 28th. It is on the 27th if it is on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh. I stand corrected. I will change that. Boy, that would suck.
Also,
Yep.
Yeah. Tuesday's the 27th.
committee that's interested in following up on the people doing plans or whatever. It would be nice if they kept us up to date. I mean, there's just been a big void of doing nothing, and we had no idea what's going on.
I suggest going to the meetings if you can. They've been frequent. I suggest going to the meetings if you can.
Do you have ad hoc committee meetings that you're welcome to come to?
When was the last one?
They're monthly.
Yeah, I think they're usually the first Wednesday of the month, but there was one, sometimes they're every 2 weeks. It depends on whether they get new information that they can act. We also discuss it at the Board of Ed, but there has been information on our website for the Board of Ed as well.
I just asked the chairman of the committee most.
Well, I believe it's gonna be June 4th. That's what we had discussed at Board of Ed the other night. They were waiting for the ed spec. Waiting for CNC. Yeah, I believe it'll be June 4th.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Is there other public participation? Yes, sir. Name and address.
Thanks, Scott, for that. Curious question. We're gonna see the senator and our representative at the, call it the celebration Saturday at the community center,
They've been invited. They have not RSVP'd yet.
but you don't know yet.
I do not,
Same.
but they have, I have personally extended the invitation.
Like to see him.
So would I.
Good.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street. I know everybody doesn't use Facebook particularly, but in case you missed it, the Broadbrook Library is now open 5 days a week. Our schedule is posted there and it's available at the library and on our website, which is, I don't know. No, bblive.org. That's our website. Facebook page is Broadbrook Library 2, TWO. But we're open more for the public. That's what it's all about, okay? We had another volunteer librarian come in, so. Coming on Tuesdays now. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Is there any other public comment? Is there anyone online who would like to address the members of the board?
Jason Norring Farmer, 247 South Water Street. Since Paul brought up Facebook, I just want to make a generalized comment to the Board of Selectmen and every other volunteer in town, Board of Finance, Board of Education, and everybody who works diligently to make this town a better community. There's a lot of just absolute nonsense being put out on Facebook, and members of your board are literally being, in my opinion, abused. And I don't believe by any stretch that that is the opinion of the entire town. But unfortunately, that's what gets seen. And I want you to know that I appreciate all of the efforts that you put in your volunteer capacities from all of the boards, because this community literally lives and breathes by volunteers who spend extensive amounts of time putting in their best efforts. And no one who serves in any of those capacities deserves the kind of nonsense that is going on now. And I hope that it ends soon. But in the meantime, for every one of those stupid posts that you see that plasters your face and your name out there, know that I appreciate you 1,000% more than that stupid cartoon.
Thank you, madam. Are there any other public comments? Now I would ask for a motion to go into executive session to include Mr. Chevalier.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We are in executive session at 8:59.